Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Football United TV. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sav.
You are Sav.
Thank you.
Sav. You are Sav. Thank you.
We're like Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield.
It could be like that. Yeah, I'm on a couch. Are you on a couch though? Are you
I'm
comfortable?
On the floor. I'm saving up for a desk.
Yeah, do you know what? I want one as well, but I'm not sure what colour and what sort of wood.
Exactly the issue I've got. I was looking on Argos today and I just can't work out. There's so many. Like, it's just a desk. I just want something to sit at, but I don't know which one.
Do you want it to be able to have a pull out, or do you want it just to be straight and simple?
I want a corner one. Like, I'm sitting in the corner here because I've got a load of my clothes here in boxes, and I'm going to move all them over to the other side of the room, and then I want my desk here. So I was looking at corner ones, but obviously I haven't got a lot of room here. It's really difficult. It's
tough, isn't it?
It is tough.
Are you shopping in IKEA, Sav?
No, I'm going to Argos, I think.
Oh, well, you know, as you do.
Yeah,
as you do.
Easy.
Yeah,
they do same-day delivery.
They are good. Everybody check out Argos. Other places are available. Not sponsored by Argos, but we are here today, Sav, aren't we, to introduce the Football Politics show, the first episode. And what we're talking about as our first topic, we were talking about seeing as Lampard got sacked at Chelsea recently and wondering how long it takes and how long it should take for a manager to be sacked. What do you think, Sav? Because I'll go after you, but I really want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, see, I think it was, I don't know if it's just because as a Newcastle United fan, you'll run through it all. Lampard, for me, I felt was a little bit unfairly, maybe prematurely ejected out of the club. It seemed to be like, 1 minute it was being rumoured and then he was gone. It was very sudden. But I do think there is, an amount of poor form that a team can keep churning out. I get that Chelsea is one of the bigger clubs and, they're not in the greatest position in the league. I don't know what the score is at the moment. I was watching it earlier.
Cruise control, apparently.
Yeah.
Go on, Charlotte.
Yeah, but, they've not been putting in the best performances, which is what they're used to, They've always been up there. So I suppose I could see behind why he was. I just felt maybe it was just a little bit premature. I think if there's been a run of, a really poor form, I think it's logical to get, to move the manager on before, say, you get right down the bottom of the table where we are. But I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
Well, yeah, look, I think it was unfair, Sav. And I'm not saying just because the fact that he's a legend at the club or considered that. It's just he was thrown into the deep end, no one would have taken on Chelsea without a transfer budget during the summer and the winter transfer window. So fair play for him for doing that and getting them Champions League. I was saying this to Prime actually the other day about the fact that Roberto Di Matteo was the one that lifted them the cup, right? And then he gets sacked very shortly after, at the start of the new season. And you kind of think okay, yeah, look, it kind of does work for Chelsea, doesn't it? You sack managers. It's a similar thing to Watford, they sack so many managers every year. And it did keep them in the Premier League, didn't it, for a certain amount of time, but it did fail at the end. And I just think sometimes you've got to give managers credit. Give them a bit more time. I mean, look at Ole. It's been the hokey cokey, innit, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. In out, shake it all about. Sorry to say that, but just it is. It just 1 minute he's in, 1 minute he's out, and it's kind of give him time. And then we've given him time, and we're doing okay. We're near enough top of the league, beating our rivals in the FA Cup. Things are on a high. So you got to give everybody time in life, right? Surely. So I just think maybe sacking him like that was a bit too wrong for me in my liking. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, see, I think this with Arteta as well, because obviously Arsenal haven't had the best start to the season, but I think people easily forget. He won the FA Cup with them last season. He's won silverware with them, and I just feel that sometimes you probably can have a run of poor form. They're not battling relegation. They're in the middle of the table at the moment. Yes, they probably, if you look at them, they should be higher, but then they have slowly been regressing over the past few seasons. So I kind of think with Arteta, you've got to give people a chance. I'm not 100% convinced by him, but I definitely think that, he's got to be given a chance to prove himself.
He does, doesn't he? I mean, look, Arteta has been doing kind of okay recently. I know they had that FA Cup loss against Southampton, but they rejuvenated that comeback against them in the league, and that's important. And give him time. I know that people Arteta, they say about Arteta that he hasn't got the minerals to take on such a role, but without time, you never know. Like, do you? I'm not going to say the same with Steve Bruce. He's had plenty of time, hasn't he, Sav? What do you think?
Oh, he has had so much time. Oh my God, it's like watching a dinosaur try and run a football team. Did you see they've got another coach coming, Graham Jones? He's come in from Bournemouth. I don't know. We might as well just swap all our staff and players with the Bournemouth people, because we seem to be doing that. We've got, Matt Ritchie's apparently off to Bournemouth, I'm hearing tonight. We might be having Josh King from there. But no, Steve Bruce, my issue, and I think I've spoken about this so many times, is when he does his press conferences, he must have a script and he will read from that. And no matter what our form is, he will say the same thing. He will big up the opposition that we're facing. He'll say, it doesn't matter who they are. They could be, a Sunday League side, and he'd be like, oh, they're just fantastic and it's going to be hard work for us. And he will churn out all this. And then I was actually shocked. I nearly fell off the chair the other night when we scored a goal, because it had been so long. And it shouldn't be like that. We're in the Premier League. He goes on about how great the Premier League is. We should be in a better position. We should be able to score goals. What's that about? That's the whole point of the game. And yeah, I just feel that he's had his chance. I don't understand why we're getting another coach in. We've got like 5 now, I think it is. The only thing I can possibly think is that we've got him in to try and oosh Steve Bruce out to get him to be interim manager. That's the only thing I can think.
So do you think this sort of coincides with what we're talking about? Do you think Steve needs more time, or do you think like he's shown that definitely he needed to go like a long time ago? Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's had 18 months, in my opinion. He's had 18 months. He gave it all. We're a work in progress. I gave him the benefit of the doubt last season, because I was like, do you know what? He's got to come in. He's got to put his stamp on that squad. And he's had transfer budget. I think it's like 100 million he's had to spend on that squad. And if you look, I think it's on TV last night. They compared the stats to Rafa's last 19 games and his last 19 games, and we've regressed under Steve Bruce, so it's not a progression. I don't know if it's because obviously the club was going for a takeover, whether or not that's going on in the background, so they don't necessarily want to get rid of him. But yeah, I just don't think we're going anywhere other than down if it carries on.
Yeah, you know what? I want Rafa back for Newcastle. I really do. I know
it will happen under Mike Ashley, though.
I know Kendall was singing the Jackson 5 song, I think, and it'd be nice to see if they could see that and be like, yeah, like we want to get somebody in like who you want. Like the fans clearly want Rafa back, but I think, like you said, it might probably not happen.
No, not under Mike Ashley anyway.
So talking about the unfairness of like sacking managers, do you think like Tuchel being sacked at PSG was unfair? Talking about the same thing with Chelsea, the fact that Lampard was, because he was sacked quite unfairly, I think, at PSG, and it does happen a lot in football, doesn't it? Like Ralph Hassan Hotul, is that right? I think they said.
I'm awful with names. Don't ask me.
The Southampton manager, right? So they lost 9-0, didn't they, against Leicester, and everyone was gunning for him. You're saying he's got to be sacked. We've got to get somebody else in. And now look at them, like they don't even want to get rid of him. Like,
I think that's the thing. It's very easy as a fan to be impulsive, and because your club's having a bit of a bad run, it's very, managers, I don't envy them, because as soon as they start get a poor run of form, then all the blame is laid on them. That's got to be stressful. And when you're trying to do your job as well, and that you're hated for it and everyone wants you out, that's, must be really difficult. But I do believe that, there is, if it continues on, then obviously you have to be moved on. But yeah, I do feel that some managers are sacked way too soon. and moved on. I kind of get the thought behind it, because it's like, how long do you let this run for? But I think they need to be given a chance.
Yeah, agreed. How long do you think they should have though? Like, I mean, I'm saying at least, like the old days, a year and a half at least you'd get, you know what I mean? Like, to at least, you know, like, but these days it could be like 3 months and then you're out again. Like we said about Watford, like it can be 8 weeks. You can be in for 8 weeks and you're gone, you know? It's how long do you think? Like,
I agree with you. I think it should be like it used to be. You know, they've got to, don't get me wrong, that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to manage the team and to make them progress. But I think after, you know, only like 3 months, that's not enough time to be given to put any sort of stamp on a squad, especially when you come in, you know, you've taken on a squad that someone else has been managing in their way. But the problem with football is now, I think it's just too much run like a business. And if results aren't, certain clubs, if results aren't churned out, you know, instantly, then they just move them on. They're like, yeah, thanks, next. And I just don't think it gives people the chance. And this is why I think you don't see many of those prolific managers that everyone always goes back to now. And they're like, oh, he was just, you know, he embodied our club, because they're there for a long time. And you don't really see that now.
You don't. We were talking about it, weren't we, with Bobby Robson, weren't we? That you don't get that passion from managers anymore, and that chance, because he was at England for what? I think maybe from 1982 to 1990. That's a long time to be an England manager these days. So it took time for him to get to the semi-finals. You know what I mean? Like they wanted his head like during '86. You know, they wanted him out then, and yet they still give him more time to do it and get to where he wanted to be. And he got him to semi-finals. So it's a similar thing. I think that you don't get managers like that these days. And look, Sav, you got a comment down here from Life's a Beautiful Mess. I'm guessing you want to answer this because it's about Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce was probably brought. Sorry, I'll read it out. Yeah, Steve Bruce was probably brought in by Ashley as a cheap option because he was under the impression the takeover was going to happen soon after. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably, to be fair, because obviously the takeover, this is what I was trying to say earlier, the takeover is still bubbling away, I think, in the background. Something's going on. I'm not sure if it's that Mike Ashley wants compensation because it didn't go through, or whether they're still trying to sort out a deal. And that's the only thing that I can think is why they're keeping Steve Bruce around, because if he sacks him, he's going to have to pay him off. So he's going to lose money. If he's trying to get rid of the club, he don't really want to be parting with too much more money over it. So I think that's the only thing that I can think of is why Steve Bruce was brought in and why he's still there is to do with this takeover. And also, you know, what manager's going to want to come in on that short term to sort out the absolute mess that's going on, and then the takeover will happen and then they'll be pushed on. Then no one's going to want to do it.
That's the problem, isn't it? It's too quick these days to get rid of people, and you think some managers are kind of scared and going in roles now and thinking that they could be out within 3 months.
Yeah, probably. I'd imagine it's really stressful. I wouldn't want to do it. To have all that pressure on you, as soon as the fans start calling you out, then you get the press start calling you out, and then you're still trying. The stress they must feel on those sidelines on match day when they're losing. God, I think I'd be in tears. But yeah, it's mad.
Don't want to see you in tears, Sav. That'd be a sad story. You probably are every night, aren't you?
You are?
You said you probably are recently every night, aren't you?
Yeah, God, every time I watch us, yeah.
So you lost to Leeds, didn't you, as well, right?
Yeah, lost to Leeds. Yeah, but Steve Bruce said it was all right because we played well in the second half. But the way I sort of see it was, we did play better. We sort of came forward from the back a bit more. But if that's not being reflected in any points, it doesn't massively count for me. We didn't get a single point out of that. So, great, we played better. We still got nothing.
That's Mike Ashley for you, isn't it? He's like, well, at least we got the TV rights tonight, or you know what I mean? Like, that's all he cares about, really. Which pretty much every boss in the world, pretty much. I'm not saying all. Let's move on to the other topic then, Sav. What do you think about having 5 substitutes. Do you think that's a good idea for next season? Because I know they're still talking about it, and I know a lot of lower league clubs, but people that are low in the Premier League don't think it's very fair that the bigger clubs have a better option on the bench and they can bring and change pretty much a whole team lineup. Would you agree with this? Like, do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think it's good?
I think it benefits the bigger clubs. Yeah, I think it totally depends on what's going to change with this virus going on, because obviously I know that we've got players on our squad that have been really fatigued by COVID, and in that situation I think it could be beneficial. We had Lascelles at the weekend looking like he couldn't breathe at the end of the game, and you think if you could have had an option to have taken him off, probably Steve Bruce would have left him on, but that's not the point. Taking him off just so that he could have had a lay down somewhere, you probably would have. Obviously they're playing a lot of games in quick succession at the moment, and players that need to be rested and things. But I do understand, that it's very swings and roundabouts. It does very much benefit the bigger clubs, but it's the empath in me. I get all empathetic. Is that the word? Empathetic, whatever it is. Emphatic, is that it?
Emphatic.
I told you I'm useless with words and pronunciations.
It's all right. Yeah, I understand. It's a universal language, Sav. It's okay if you're trying to express yourself and you can't get the word. I can see by the way you're looking and the way you're throwing your hand. I know what you mean.
I know what I'm saying. I get really like that with players. I'm like, they just need a rest. Just give them a rest. Just give them, do the 5 subs. But yeah, I do get both sides of the argument. It's going to give people who've got, as you say, better options sitting on the bench a massive advantage over those that don't.
You look at it that way, Sav, but I look at it another way. More game time.
Yeah, true.
So more game time for youth players, and that they might be put in that position to be on the bench, and they might get that 5-10 minutes that they would never get right now. So it's kind of like, for me, a 50-50. I do get it. Like the top 6, I don't know what is top 6 at the moment. It's top 12 at the moment, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what way it's going, but yeah, it would benefit Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool, etc.
Yeah.
But then I look at it like, I think, then would other clubs like maybe buy in more players because they've got 2 extra spots? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then they could I don't know, and give players that they think could be playmakers a chance, and then they become world class, and then it brings out more talent in the game. I'm not sure what you think of that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I've always said with Newcastle, we don't play our younger players enough. I think we bought on Anderson recently, but then he hasn't had a look in for a couple of games now. But it would actually be nice to see more options on the pitch than what's currently being served up. So I suppose from that aspect, but I still do think that those bigger clubs are going to be sat there thinking, oh, yes. Like when you watch Newcastle week in, week out, it's like pants down every week, and they'll see that and they'll be like, brilliant, send them in.
Pants down. I love that.
I say that all the time.
When you look at it in your mind as well, you're just thinking of Newcastle players just like with the other team, just like whipping them down and doing a free kick. You know what I mean?
Fabian Schär didn't he? He was lying. He had his bum out. Everyone went mental on Twitter.
Why did he have his bum out, Sam? What happened there?
I think he had muscle strain or something. And
he strained out his shorts, like it just
he had his shorts down, and he had physios around him on the pitch trying to sort him out. I think he took the pants down way too seriously.
Well, sort of like Ian Wright back in the day, wasn't it, when he pulled his tattoo out, wasn't it? Remember that?
Yeah.
Line and remember a few other people running off to the toilet and stuff like that. I think it was in World Cup. I think the USA player had a little fiddle, didn't he, on the bench? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that.
You know, when you got to go, you got to go. But Jesus, like
it all goes on, doesn't it?
It does all go on, doesn't it? You know, like I it's very controversial. Like I do agree with you. Like the top clubs would benefit, especially in La Liga as well. Like imagine Real Madrid versus I don't know, let's pick somebody out like Real Betis or something like that. Like, it'd be very unfair because Real Madrid would spend so much cash, get that bench filled. It'd be like Space Jam, you know?
Yeah.
The Monstars and all that. They're all the best players. They've zapped all the best players. They're all there. They're all on the bench. Yeah, you know what? It's 50-50 because I think maybe it would work. It's kind of like VAR, I think, I guess. Like it's 50-50 for me. It does work, but it hasn't been working.
Yeah.
Can we talk about VAR a little bit? Why don't we talk about VAR a little bit? What are you making of that though, so far? Like, has it settled right now? Has the dust settled? Has it been used correctly?
Not in all instances. No, I don't think it has. And I think that sometimes the decisions that have been made, you find that when you're watching these matches, it's being stopped to look at VAR more than they're actually playing half of the time. And there's been some things the handball thing in the penalty area, I find that's really petty sometimes. You know, the ball's only got to be knocked into someone's arm and that's it, penalty. And it's just like, if you're not in control, you see people now, their arms behind their back, like just try running around like penguins, like, because it's got that ridiculous. So from that point of view, I'm not that keen on it. I just wish it could go. I know it never will, but I just wish it could go back to like it used to be, like in the 90s. You know, we didn't have all this sort of falling over and goings on for no reason, just to try and get a decision.
But Sav, Bruno wouldn't have all them penalties if it weren't for VAR.
Exactly. And where would you be now?
Probably championship, maybe. Yeah. Getting penalties.
Yeah, getting penalties. Yeah, I just find it's just gone a little bit over the top, and it sort of takes the fluidity out of a match if you've got to stop every 5 minutes and have a watch, and you know, you see the referee stand there like that listening on his ear, and it's just for me it's too much. I think it's probably because, you know, I'm probably from the 90s era when I was growing up and starting watching football, and you miss it because you think, oh, actually it was probably better back then.
Yeah, because you were like, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? Like, and it was just coming from his mind, like, oh my God, like it could be anything. Like you could bet this right now. Like you wouldn't know the answer, but VAR will try and get the answer, and it hasn't always worked, has it? I do like the old days. I do miss the old days, Sav. Yeah. But there's been a few harsh things happen in the past, though, especially for England. Don't know if you support England. You might not, Sav, but
I'm a little bit like a plastic England fan. So if we're not doing too well,
explain, Sav. Explain what that is.
If we're not doing too well, I don't pay that much attention. But like, you know, a couple of years ago when we was doing well, I was there. I was like football hooligan of the summer. I was like, this is brilliant. And then as soon as it's over,
the one that threw that ball at me. Okay.
Yeah, I can't bother after it's all done. I'm like, oh, go back. When we do well again, I'll be there.
Yeah. What do you think of this comment here, Sav? 5 substitutes will only be beneficial to youth players, which is what I was saying, if the amount of players allowed on the bench is also increased. Otherwise, they'll still not make the match day squad, sadly.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
Yeah, I do. I think we were talking about that anyway, weren't we? I mean, I'm 50-50 on that, but VAR, yes. So you're a no-go with VAR. You'd like to go back to the old day.
If we could have a happy medium, I don't know how that would work. I'd be all right with that. I just think it's a little bit over the top sometimes.
So like cricket, where you get like 3 chances to call it, or like tennis, where you get a chance to call it. You know, like the line referee. You know, where they do the video thing.
Like, especially some players really play on it, and you just see them. They're running around and penalty area, and they're going handball, and it's like every time it goes in the penalty box, it just slightly gets on my nerves a little bit.
It does get on my nerves. It does ruin the game a little bit as well. I do agree.
It takes out the natural flow of the game and makes it really clinical. I think that's what it is.
So are we agreeing to scrap VAR on that one?
Yeah, get rid of it.
Just scrap it. Don't even have a referee.
VAR. I don't know how that would be placed, but 50%.
Just don't have a referee or a line. Just let them go at it.
Just let them have a fight.
Back in the old game. You know, like that football game that still happens in, I can't remember what part of the country it is, where they got defend the ball off of other people. Have you seen that? And they're fighting each other, and they're in shop corners holding the ball. I'll have to send it to you later.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that. That sounds quite good.
It's all before the Football Association came in. That's how they played football. It sounds good, but when you watch it, you're like, okay, I don't really fancy that. Like, it's not really for me. Obviously, people are getting battered everywhere. Well, our last topic was should the European Championships have should they still happen?
I think they will happen.
Yeah,
I think they will go ahead. It's difficult, isn't it? Because our crowd's going to be able to come back then. I think there's so many unanswered questions to what's going on with this virus and what length of time this is going to continue on. And I suppose, if they seem to be sort of plugging on with having them. Have you seen anything? I haven't seen anything to say that it was a possibility that it wouldn't happen.
I only saw things that they want to, instead of doing it all around the place, they want to hold it in one country.
Yeah.
Just to contain it if it's going to happen. And it was this country as well, but that was a while ago. And I'm hearing again that they might want to do it back to the original thing where it was going to be in different countries, different stages. I think Hampden Park was one. I think the stadium in Dublin was one. I think the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff was a place as well. All around Europe, I think it was going to be pretty much. And I think the semis and the final was going to be at Wembley originally. So I don't know. Yeah, because you're meant to apparently you might have to quarantine.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
So everybody that's coming over will have to quarantine there. So it's weird if you're in a group game, say in Germany, and you get through to the semis at some point, you're not going to be able to leave Germany to go to another stadium in another country, are you? Do you know what I mean? It's confusing, right?
This is what I was going to say, because obviously, with this current quarantine thing, that's not going to be doable, is it? Because the length of time you're going to be quarantining from coming in from another country, the games are going to be played once every 2 to 4 weeks. It'll be a real slow contest. But I don't understand how they're going to manage to do that if that stays the same, whether or not they make something different. Because obviously, footballers are tested more than everyone else. But I honestly, it's so difficult. But as I said, with not having fans in and crowds and that, is that going to be an issue? Because a lot of people are going to want to go. So,
well, maybe you're right. Maybe it should be behind closed doors, but the fans that have got tickets, because obviously I don't think it's going to be like a full capacity, right? So it'll be maybe half the capacity of what they usually have. So maybe if you're a fan and you get the Willy Wonka golden ticket, you've got to go inside and you've got to do as they say and go around with everybody, and be penned in a sense. Because at the same time, we're all penned in right now anyway. So if anyone says, "Oh, I don't fancy that," well, then you've got to go home and do that anyway. I'd rather be like that at the European Championships or the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? Saying, "Here's your little village, like an Olympic village, like where you stay and you go to different stadiums and it's all safely done." Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, what do you think they should do? You think they shouldn't do it at all? Like, I know a lot of people are saying that, but.
Yeah, so the problem is, though, it's just going to keep putting back and back and back. I can't see an end to this virus right now. I think I read something today where they said that they've vaccinated 7 million people. And I mean, what's the population of this country? Is it 67 million or something? So that sounds quite a lot. But then I think it's only over 70s at the moment. So it's still ages away from getting down to everyone being done. So who knows what's going to go on with that? I think it's just going to keep getting put back. Maybe, this is going to sound really ruthless, just put it behind closed doors, stick them all in one place, get it done with, and then have a return to normality, in the aftermath of that when we can all go out and mix together again. I just can't see how else they're going to get it done. I get really bad paranoia over this virus as well. So that's probably why that sounds completely extreme. But I go around the supermarket. It's like I'm on Hunger Games. So when I see groups of people together when I'm out, I'm like, can we all just disperse? It's paranoia.
I'm like that too, actually, to be fair. I keep away. Like people I'm like, whoa, like I
hold my breath when I walk past people. Even if
wow.
I've got a mask on, I'm really like, I had to go into the hospital the other day. It was quite funny, actually. I had to go to the hospital and I accidentally went to the inpatients entrance and they had a sign up like COVID is present in here. And I was like, absolutely not. I am not going in there. Just imagine it running at me as soon as I get there. So I walked around the whole hospital to find an entrance. There was one entrance that didn't have that sign. Probably was still present in the same building. But I was like, I'm going to take my chances with this entrance.
It really that, though. That is scary. That's a scary sign to read, isn't it? It's like sharks are infested here when you're trying to dive into the swimming pool or whatever.
Yeah, because I bought one of those visors as well. Wear a mask. I bought a visor. I didn't realise you had to take the film off. So I went my first out trip with my visor. I couldn't see. I nearly went into a shelf. But because I'm really paranoid that it will get into my eyes. So then I find myself squinting if I haven't got it. It's just mad.
Well, you know, that's really safe. Do you wear a mask as well, right?
Yeah, mask, visor. I'd wear gloves, but I keep tapping away on my phone, so that's not going to work. So I just get the old hand sanitizer out as soon as I'm out.
Should get a Tiger King mask or something.
I'd love that. I've seen that. They've got one of his half his face. Yeah.
Shouts out to Charlotte. Big yourself up.
Hi, Charlotte.
Sav in the building. Everybody hit the subscribe, share, like. This is our first time doing this and we're quite comfortable at doing this, aren't we, Sav? We can just literally go on to another topic if we wanted to, couldn't we?
Oh, I know. I find that we deviate. It's probably me. It's because you're not that usual host who make me stick to the topic and then I go off on a tangent.
we do like the tangents. It's okay. They are allowed. Brandon, hi Matt and Sav. This virus is weird. My 3-year-old daughter tested positive on Tuesday. Sorry to hear that, Brandon, mate. Hope she's okay. Last week for it, but showed no signs and symptoms at all. And me and the missus have caught it off of her. Oh, mate, mad. Yeah. Hope you're like keeping in, staying safe, mate. That's it can affect anybody. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether you've got like what do you call it, an illness or whatever, you know, like health issue. It doesn't really matter. I've heard a lot of people that have died and they've been fine, healthy, fit, and in their early 30s.
Scary bit. That is the scary bit. You read all this thing. Like I had to do an overnight stay in hospital a few weeks ago, and instead of sleeping, I decided to sit up and Google how many COVID deaths they'd had in the hospital. And a couple of days before I was in there, some healthy man in his 40s with no underlying issues had died there. And you think, Christ, it really does affect people. Some people don't show symptoms at all. Some people it can get really badly. Agreed. It's just, do you know what? It's been going on, isn't it, Sav, for so long. Everyone's just so fed up, aren't they? Of it's all the different variants as well now, isn't it? I think if I was Prime Minister, I would have just shut the borders straight away and done what New Zealand did. Everyone would have kicked off and not liked it. But look where New Zealand are now in comparison to us.
They had a new year. I think I was even watching someone over there having a new year, and I was sitting in bed, like watching them.
Yeah.
How sad is that?
I get it's like quite, what's the word? Draconian? Is it draconian? Is that the word I'm thinking of?
It sounds like it.
Yeah. I get that it's kind of like that, and closing all the borders and stopping everyone leaving the house is, you know, not great, but I think it's short-term pain, long-term gain with that sort of thing. And yeah, we've tried to keep the economy going and keep ticking over as much as we can, but look at the state we're in now.
It's crazy. So do you think fans should be rushed back before the end of the season, or do you think just wait until next season now?
It's difficult because when they did go back, if you looked in the stands, that gave me anxiety just looking at that. They wasn't like I thought. They'd have used the whole stadium and plonk them all at a sensible distance away from each other. But they wasn't all like that. Some were just all in one end. And I think, where's the sense behind that? Yeah, they may. I know it's 2 meters, and they may have been in some shots. It didn't look like those 2 meters. I get that can be deceptive given on the angle and things like that. But I would have just opened the entire stadium and plopped them all at a sensible distance away from each other.
Agreed. I just saw a comment, but I'll go back to it after Charlotte's first because it's on topic. No fans shouldn't be back till next season. Charlotte, please put in the comments, explain why, please, because that'll be nice to know why you think that. And here's a question for you, Sav. You don't like a Geordie, are you? It says, so how do you find yourself to be an NUFC fan? I'm from Kent and also support NUFC, and I'm constantly asked the same thing.
Yeah, I get it a lot. You know this story, Matt. I wanted to marry Alan Shearer, and my 12-year-old self was actually convinced that me and him, I was going to be Mrs. Shearer. And so when he went, I fell in love with him in the 96, Euro 96, and then he went to Newcastle. So that was when, you know, I went over to Newcastle. Unfortunately for me and Alan, it hasn't worked out. He had a wife that I was unaware of, you know, typical man, wife and kids, didn't have a clue. I stopped playing with my Barbies to prove I was adult enough for him. But yeah, so I just stayed as a Newcastle fan after that.
And so you should. I wanted to marry Eric Cantona. That's why I supported Man United. I know it sounds a bit funny, but love the guy, follow up, you know.
Do you remember? I was thinking of this the other day, and I think I was on another show, and I don't know but then I thought, I can't remember if I imagined this. Was there a guy that shaved his head like Cantona and stood next to the Man United players and had a photo taken with him and no one realised? I swear that happened. I think he was the same guy that invaded Silverstone one year. But I may have dreamt this, but I swear that happened.
So you're saying he pretended to be Eric Cantona and he got in amongst the players and in
yeah,
the
he
photo.
got on the pitch. And no
well,
one
they knew it was an Eric Cantona.
You are?
Did they know it was an Eric Cantona?
I can't remember. It was years ago. But I swear that happened. I'm going to look this up when I come off of here because I swear that did happen. Whenever I think of Eric Cantona, I think of that man.
Well, yeah, that reminds me of the Vardy guy, the vlogger, right? He looks like Vardy. He went on a coach, didn't he, at Leicester City, and like went on and sat with Vardy. Like similar to that, are you saying? Like he went on the pitch and everyone was like, "I got to take a photo of him." Like,
no, I don't. I think he just snuck on the pitch. I'm sure that happened. I'm sure he got in trouble over it.
So look, life's a beautiful mess. Sav has also said mine also from Euro '96, although mine wasn't quite for the same reasons. Are you sure? Because I loved Alan Shearer. He was great, apart from his celebration. He needed to change that up. Maybe a backflip every now and then, you know, like a Faustino.
He was a backflipping kind, was he?
No, not really. I don't think so. Faustino Aspia was doing that, wasn't he?
He did a nice little cartwheel.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the cartwheel. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's impressive. You know, coming from Colombia, you know, I like that. Charlotte says because until COVID is under control. Also, jabs are done. It's not safe once people have a drink and you mix football. It doesn't go well together. I also think some people don't listen to the rules, which you're absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah. And why don't they? I have no idea. Because they're the ones that are probably having family members that are probably being affected by this. But they don't think it's them because they haven't had, you know, the symptoms and they think, oh, I didn't do anything. Like, I haven't had it. How do you know? Like, half the people in this country haven't had the test, have they? So crazy lads. There's Carl Power snuck on the pitch and got into the Man United team photo. Is that his name, Sav?
I don't know if that was his name, but they're definitely. I'm sure that happened.
Yeah, tell us more about that crazy lad if you know.
Yeah, was he the same guy that invaded Silverstone? I thought that was him. Because I went to Silverstone one year and there was this man. I don't know if it was that man, but there was one. He was dressed up as an Irishman running up the middle of the track in the middle of the race.
Wow, while they were driving?
Yeah, they had to swerve around him.
Did he want to die?
I don't know. There was another year because I used to sit on the grid There was another year, there was a streaker that come running up while the drivers were getting ready for the race. He got dragged off by the steward. It took them ages to get hold of him. And then he come out the gate and was all sat there and he's going, hey, and they're like, cover yourself up, cover
yourself up. 30. You don't get that anymore at football, do you, either?
No, way too sensible now. I think they've tightened on security, haven't they? I suppose, especially with like Formula One, so dangerous. I mean, I look back now at that guy that was running up. He had a sign. I can't remember what the sign said, but it's just so dangerous. He could have so easily have been killed or killed someone else who had to swerve to get out of his way.
Can I just say, it's always the men that get dragged off quicker than the women when they streak, isn't it?
I think it's more men that do it, to be honest. You get like the odd woman, but it normally is a guy that's done it. You had too many drinks.
They walk on like it's like Miss Universe on the field, and no one even says anything, bats an eyelid. When a man does it, it's like, I can't wait to rugby tackle this guy with a tackle. You know what I mean? Double tackles.
Yeah.
So what was I going to say? That one last thing to talk about, actually, because Sav, it's just come on my mind, actually, and I know that might be introduced at some point if fans do come back. Taking away seats and having the old school standing spots.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, I was thinking about that earlier, actually, and it came back up in my mind, and I thought maybe that would be a good idea. I know that the Hillsborough thing comes into play.
Yeah, that's what. See, I haven't heard of this being discussed, but that's what crosses my mind when you said that, to be honest. I think, and also you've got people that I know they have areas for people with disabilities, but sometimes it's not an actual, like, real people who've injured themselves or something like that, I just think that would probably increase, the crush risk on people. I think seats do sort of police it a little bit better.
Yeah, because you have that ticket, don't you? It's like a cinema, you don't all end up sitting on each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to see, that's it. There's no other ticket for a same seat. Even though sometimes on a train, Sav, in London, I've got a ticket for a train seat and someone's there. And it takes a good 20 minutes for them to realise that this is the ticket. I'm Willy Wonka. I've got the golden ticket for that seat.
I had that in the cinema once. I had a ticket, it had my seat number on, and this man was adamant that it was his seat. He wouldn't even look at his ticket, so I had to go and grass him up to the cinema man, get him marched into his actual seat.
Have you ever had that at football either? Ever?
No.
So at cinema you had it, and yet it should be very well organised, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had it at cinema, and the man had none of it. You
had the right ticket, and he claimed he had the right ticket.
Yeah. I just wanted to watch Secret Life of Pets 2 in peace, and I had to have this row before I could even sit down.
What was the film again, Sam?
Secret Life of Pets 2. I think I was that one.
Seen that. 2? I didn't see the first one.
Oh, you should watch it. It's good.
Is it on Netflix?
It was on Netflix, I think. I'm not sure if it still is.
So this was a recent viewing for you at the cinema.
When was it? It's a few years ago now. Maybe it was the first one. I went to see them both in the cinema because I'm sad like that. I've got to find something to do.
I think we all. I don't even know if cinemas are going to be open anymore, Sav, but
I can't see it. I mean, when they did reopen, they reopened briefly, didn't they? And you had to go in your mask and all sorts. And I just think, if you want to sit there and munch on your popcorn and have a drink, you can't really do that with a mask on. So it takes the enjoyment out. I'd rather wait for it to come out on DVD now.
I was on a train up into Edinburgh, and I was like going to the window on the Ribena straw,
You feel like that, though.
I feel like I'm doing drugs, and people are like, "What's he doing over there? Is he sniffing something?" I'm just drinking Ribena. I just don't want you to think that I'm taking my mask off inappropriately.
It was like when I went to the hospital the other day. I walked past their cafe, and obviously people are sitting in there eating, and I was just like, "Oh my god, they've not got their masks on. I wouldn't be able to do that. I think I'd just starve." I'm not even joking. When I had to stay in the hospital the other week, they gave me, you're not allowed your own mask. You have to have one of the medical masks. I put it, whilst I slept, over the entirety of my face so that the virus couldn't get me whilst I was sleeping. They must have thought I was mental.
You've done something else as well in the supermarket, haven't you?
What have I done in the supermarket?
With your mask.
With my mask? I want my visor. I said about that when I went shopping with my visor and I hadn't taken the film off, and I couldn't see where I was going. And I was like, how do they sell these things? These are like how do people see it? So what I thought was you must have to look underneath them because you can obviously see the ground. So I'm going around looking at the ground, and then I've bashed into a shelf. Then I get round and I'm like, pick it. And I was like, oh my God, there's like a film here. But I didn't want them to see me rip the film off because they'd know I was being an idiot. So I just had to take the whole mask off and just put it under my arm and carry on.
I'd have loved to have seen that. That is class. That is pure class.
They don't say in the instructions. They don't say that there is a film on that. Apparently, I'm not the only person who's done that.
Well, there you go. Like, I didn't think it was only you, but I just think walking into a shop doing it would be like.
I thought, I'm supposed to wear glasses, and I was like, I feel like I'm trying to read up close or something because I'm long-sighted. I just couldn't see a thing, and I couldn't see people. People, like, as I walked in, there was a person who stands with the sanitizer. They're like, "Hello," and I was like, "Hello, can't see you, but I'm on my way through."
Brilliant. So if you see Sav bumping into shelves, you know why. Okay, it's not.
I'm just a general idiot.
Crazy Lad says it was before a Champions League game against Bayern Munich. He also snuck on the Silverstone podium in 2000.
It was that one.
You were there?
2002. I don't know if I was.
You said there was one that you went to that someone did something.
Yeah, there was. It used to be most years someone would get on the track. Usually it was before the race kicked off. Obviously there's that one where it was during the race. But yeah, it used to all go on there.
You're a Formula One fan, Sav?
Yeah, but everyone hates me for it because I'm not keen. Not keen on Lewis Hamilton. Don't tell anyone.
Oh well, this would be good actually. You should go on to sometimes go to a thing called the Checkered Flag. Stephen Featley, he like raises awareness for liver disease and stuff, like, because he's going through it and that. Shouts out to you, Stephen, as well. Like, much appreciation for coming on sometimes, man. He does a Checkered Flag show, and sometimes I don't know what they're going on about because I'm old school Formula One, Sav. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
but then I probably am a little bit because the reason why I don't, probably the biggest, he made Nicole Scherzinger cry, which really upset me on TV as well, and B, I'm a Ferrari fan. I was always there. I mean, I haven't been to Silverstone for years now, but I used to go every single year, and I was the biggest Michael Schumacher fan, and it really upset me when he broke his record last season because on a personal level, I didn't want him to. And then he's being knighted. I don't want to go off in a tangent because people end up hating me and they're like, "Oh, you're so horrible. He's the greatest driver ever. How dare you?" But I just can't be doing with it.
No, that's fair enough. Well, you should go on his channel and rant about it. Because he loves Lewis Hamilton, but
God.
he does.
I feel like his worst nemesis. I can't find a nice thing. Yeah. I just think if you put Lewis Hamilton in that car from the 90s and said, right, go on, go do the same, he wouldn't be able to do it. That's my opinion. I have been told differently, with some quite strong words, which is why I try not to talk about it too much. But
he's not an Ayrton Senna, is he?
No, I think the drivers, the cars and the drivers, it's all a different ball game now. And yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad driver. Obviously, to do what he's done, that's brilliant, but he's not for me.
No, he's not for me either. He's not. I appreciate that he's done well, because someone's going to win these Grand Prix, aren't they? Right?
Yeah.
No matter what happens, someone's going to be like, "I'm the best." Fair enough. But I think it's a lot different from when it used to be, and it's all about the teams now, isn't it? And we're going on to Formula One. Maybe we should do a Formula One show now.
Yeah, this is what I mean about the tangent.
Yeah, I know. I do it as well, but I'm okay with this because this is our show and we can do what the hell we want. Right? So smash that like, hit the subscribe. I think we're over 400 now, so that's
good.
Everybody, it's taken me so long, Sav. Seriously, I didn't even know what number I wanted to get to when starting this channel, but I'm quite overwhelmed. It's got to 400, but
that's good.
Coming from a guy just talking about football on his own, that's how it started off.
Yeah.
Now here with you.
Yeah.
Hosting a show. This is brilliant. So yeah, you got.
It's mad to think. I was thinking this earlier. A year ago, I didn't even have a Twitter account. I'd never done podcasts. I didn't even like FaceTiming people. So in a year, a lot can change.
You got 10,000 followers on.
I've got 11 now.
Bloody hellfire! Christ on a bike.
It's because I just haven't been busy. I just sit and chat shit on Twitter all day.
Yeah, it's taken me about 2 years to get 400 followers on there, Sav. There you go. Times have changed. Gender equality is no more.
You probably need to say something more controversial. Go on there and say you really don't like Lewis Hamilton. That tends to rile people.
If I just say I hate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it won't work because no one listens to Formula One, unfortunately, these days. But we got one from Chris Davison here, just to maybe finish off because we're on 51 minutes. Hi, Matt. Hi, Sav. How you doing, Chris? The past years took a toll on my mental health, especially living on my own, but things like this and friends and family help me through it. Keep it up. It helps my mental health. Chris, thank you so much. And I think the thing is, Sav, I know like sometimes these channels don't get a lot of views, same as me, you know, sometimes it's like, what on earth's happened? But if you can like help one person out, then I'm glad to be able to do it and be of service in that way. So
I completely agree with that. I mean, I think, I don't know if I probably have spoken about it on here, is the trolling, some of it that I've had on Twitter. It's got me to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to be on here anymore because it gets a really toxic place. But then every now and then I'll get this DM from someone who'll say, oh, do you know what? I've been in a really horrible place. I've been contemplating doing things, but actually, you know, having a laugh at your tweets and the fact that you're really quite open with mental health has helped me. And I just think if I can just help one person, then it's worth keeping on and just putting up with the trolls because I don't really care what they say anyway. Yeah,
you can like literally stop someone from doing something bad just by saying much appreciated and look, stay positive. And
yeah, I think it's talking out, it's normalizing mental health because I really suffer. I always say it's me panicking and that I'm paranoid, but I really suffer with anxiety. I live my whole life like on my nerves. My head is always ticking all the time. And at times that's overwhelmed me and I've stopped eating because my mind can't focus to even feel hungry anymore. I've gone like a week barely in anything, or it has extended. I had a few years ago extended over a period of like a year where I was in a real state. And I think it's nothing to be ashamed about. We all have crap times and it's all right to stand there and say, do you know what, today is not a good day for me. I've not had the best day, but then get up the next day and try again. And eventually, if you keep on, you know, persevering, the days do start to get lighter. And then you look back, like I look back now at me in 2014, 2015, and I feel like a different person. And so, yeah, I think it's just talking about it and being open about it. No one should be ashamed if you're having a bad time.
Agreed. And would that reflect on like football players as well? Like, do you think like, because they get a lot of stick, don't they, and on socials and that, like it's a difficult time for everybody right now. I think they're probably even finding it a little bit difficult. And people say, oh, but they've got a lot of money and all that. And yeah, fair enough. They got a bigger place and like, but
then you look at all the people who've got loads of money that have then killed themselves. I think it can affect anyone in any single way. And I think if we just make sure that we're nice to each other, I know that's not going to happen with some people, but if you can make a conscious decision just not to be an arsehole, it could make the world of difference to someone.
Absolutely. And I'm thankful so much, Sav, that when I first messaged you, you weren't an arsehole to me.
Yeah, I'll try not to be an arsehole.
No, you're very, very kind and very polite, and I'm very glad that I've met you, Sav, and we're doing this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
Realistic Gunner says, great show, folks. Thank you, mate.
High five.
So where are you? So I don't know if I can say this, Sav, but you say you might be going on a show this weekend with
on Friday. I think I might be on Big Gunner's show. We was talking about it this morning, so hopefully.
Big Gunner, shouts out to you. I know Laurie knows him too as well. He goes on there quite a lot. Yeah, you'll enjoy that, Big Gunner, because Sav's a trooper. She might go on about Formula One and other things as well back in her head.
I do try. I try and stay on topic.
That's what we like. Everybody hit the subscribe, share and like. thank you so much for tuning in. I guess we should wrap it up, shouldn't we, Sav? Like,
Yeah.
we've got things to do. I think Man United are playing as well in a minute, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll be watching that then. I was going to go back on the PlayStation. I didn't know what football was on tonight, so I'll be watching that.
Oh, okay, nice. I would have, if I was a Newcastle fan, I would have just gone on the PlayStation. Seriously.
No, I do like to have a look at other teams and, you know, see what we could be, just to taunt myself.
Taunt yourself. So you saying Bruce out then, Sav, before
100%. I'm miserable.
Right, well, I'll end it off. I'm Matt.
Yeah, I'm Sav.
Hey, Sav. Sorry. And we are Football United TV, the football politics show, the first episode. Catch us next week. We'll be talking about more different things, and please do share, like, subscribe, and have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.